I am indeed late to the party, but Aftersun is one of the best movies of 2022, and I'll explain why. 2022 was a year full of sick ass films from the likes of directors I had little exposure to. Banshees by McDonough, Tar by Field, Northman by Eggers, EEAAO by the duo of Dans, but I kept hearing about Aftersun, Paul Mescal's wonderful performance, but could not get to watching it before my Oscar review. I did myself a terrible disservice, as now I find it to be amongst those movies mentioned above as one of the best of the year, with Mescal's performance being one of the best as well. One of the major criticisms that my girlfriend had, and self-admittedly I had for a portion of this film, was that it was very slow and seemingly did not do much plot-wise. But upon reflecting on this movie, I thought it to be something extremely special. What could be looked at as a boring blandness, I looked back to find was the subtle notion of Paul Mescal's character breaking down. Through his emotional turbulence, we are taken on a journey that is an emotional roller coaster if you are tapped in enough to catch it. While we're here, please be sure to subscribe to the channel. Early in the film, Mescal takes a call from Sophie's mother, and in a small exchange, "I'm so happy for you," we can glean that his baby mama may have moved on from him. It's hard to distinguish if this means she's officially dating someone else or getting married or what. We also pick up just before this scene that Callum/Mescal is trying to distress through Tai Chi. Two other vital pieces of information come throughout the film. Sophie lashing out at her father for offering things he can't afford, and Sophie bringing up her age in comparison to Mescal's, so we can start to see where his original stress lies. Callum has a child out of wedlock at the age of 19 and has never quite financially gained his footing, which could logically cause a man in his now 30s to feel depressed, stressed, and or anxious. The final two elements of Mescal's character breakdown come from the phone call mentioned above, as not only does he say, "I'm so happy for you," but he signs off with, "Love you." It seems Mescal's character could still harbor feelings for the biological mother, but also is being replaced, which I believe leads to the complete undoing of Mescal throughout the remainder of the movie. Throughout the remainder of the film, we see Mescal buy Sophie a rug to remember this trip by, despite being in a tight money situation. This decision shows that remembering this moment is important and more important than the immediate financial strain this decision will put on him, or that perhaps finances are not or will not be important to him. We then fast forward to a scene where Sophie inquired about Callum's own 11th birthday, in which he gets very defensive, requesting she turn the camcorder she's been using throughout the vacation off. Despite the request, the camera remains on and records Callum through the reflection of a TV set, where he tells the story of his parents forgetting his birthday, then dragging him to get a present when he reminded them. This is the second and strongest seed we can trace back to Callum's current unrest, as he seemingly has deep emotional detachment issues stemming back to his parents. The clever use of cinematography reminds me of a very notable scene from an Edward Yang movie I recently watched called The Terrorizers. In this scene, Yang only films the wife's perspective of the argument, for lack of a better term. This is, however, very telling in that it communicates to us that this is not a two-sided conversation. In fact, the wife needs to get this off her chest regardless of what the husband says. by Wells, the director of Aftersun, having the camera only pointed at a reflection of this interaction, we can tell that there is somewhat of a detachment. One for the audience to feel expelled from the conversation and now fully eavesdropping as we had been previously barred from entry, thus communicating how raw of an experience it is for Callum. Secondly, for Callum, as this perspective mirrors the detachment he feels not only from his parents at the moment the story takes place, but from the moment in time he's currently in. Retelling this story takes him back to the traumatic moment, and his brevity in communicating it can only be presumed because there is a big underlying current in that it reflects the way he looks upon his childhood, unwanted. The night takes a turn when Sophie signs up herself and Callum to sing karaoke where he refuses, leaving her to face the crowd alone in an excruciating scene. A conflict after this, where Callum passively critiques Sophie's singing and Sophie calling out Callum's tendency to promise things he can't, happens after this scene. This leads to a self-destructive night for Callum, where he drunkenly wanders around the resort, mistakenly locking Sophie out of the room, and a coming-of-age moment where Sophie has her seemingly first kiss with a boy. I can take two things from this. The most explosive moment of the movie, those being that Callum is intensely insecure about how he has been able to impact his daughter's life, and also he is scared that it is too late for him to make up for this in the future. This harkens back likely to how Callum's parents have failed him, and he does not want to do the same. The next day, Callum apologizes profusely for leaving her in such a bad situation. Part of me feels like a combination of being too little an impact on his daughter's life and now on the verge of being pushed out by the mother's significant other has exposed a gaping wound in the soul of Callum, and one he can't quite recover from. After the apologies, Sophie coordinates an impromptu cheer for Callum's birthday in which he unemotionally looks on. I think this invariably stems from the lack of emotion he garnered from his parents on his 11th birthday and how he has somewhat absorbed this detachment from his birthday himself. Our last and most important scenes remaining are that of Callum weeping from the drunken night out and the under pressure dance scene. Both these scenes lead to the same through line I've been pushing this entire video. Callum's past is conflicting with his feared future. Where this movie transcends into a beautiful masterpiece is the scene where he dances with his daughter before the end of vacation, cementing this joyous and magical moment for her to remember with him. Callum is able to completely give up his intuition and be free in this moment where he was unable to the whole movie up until this point. He doesn't force this moment to be special, but by being so carefree and vulnerable, he and his daughter are able to have a truly special moment. For me, it is the subtlety of underlying emotions and the expressions of these emotions through the film that elevates the movie. Never have I seen something so well executed. The final brilliant twist is that the film sees us looking into the past through the eyes of the daughter, Sophie, who has dreams of trying to find and console her father who is dancing in a trance-like state. This has led many viewers to believe the father leaves her life following this moment either through taking his own life or abandonment, but my guess leans towards the former. Callum seems much too mournful and conscientious and self-destructive for the latter to be true. It leads to an all-real sentiment that oftentimes we must look into the past to fully make sense of what was happening then and why. Sophie was too young then to understand her father's turmoil, and now that she does understand, it's too late. This theme also coexists with the thought that we can't truly and fully understand what someone is going through, even a loved one. Let me know your thoughts on this beautiful movie down below. Be sure to subscribe, and I'll catch you on the flippity floop. Bye, y'all.